follow-ups to the greatest hits. This is Trash Can Tidbits.
Hey there, everybody. It's Beaton, and I am back with a new installment of Trash Can Tidbits. Last time, I asked the question, why was Terry Hatcher so difficult to work with during the making of Tomorrow Never Dies? The answer is, she was pregnant. She was relatively early in her pregnancy at the beginning of filming, and Pierce Brosnan didn't realize this until they had a chance to really talk about it. As a result, her scenes had to be shot quickly before she began to show. The moment where Bond and Paris Carver kiss and he unzips her dress, leaving her standing in her panties, was indeed shot while she was with child. Brosnan himself admitted that he had wanted the producers to cast another actress as Paris, his suggestion being Monica Bellucci. He was quoted as saying, "The fools said no." Bellucci would later go on to play Donna Lucia Sciarra in Spectre. Now with that address, let's get started with fact number 1. Did you know that for the movie musical My Fair Lady, star Rex Harrison absolutely refused to lip-sync the songs? Harrison originated the role of English phonetics professor Henry Higgins in the 1957 Broadway musical. Even though he had a distinguished stage career beforehand, he never made a musical at that time and was not a singer. His performing style, which became his trademark, was a mixture of subtle singing mixed with speaking or reciting the songs in syncopation with the musical rhythm. When Harrison learned that he would be reprising the role of Higgins for the movie, he refused to lip-sync to a pre-recorded track, citing that he never sang the same song the same way twice. So the production team created one of the very first wireless microphones worn under his tie to pick up his voice clearly during his songs, making him one of the first performers to sing live in a musical film. All of the other actors, including Audrey Hepburn, who was famously dubbed over, lip-synced to their songs. Harrison later did the same recording technique for his next and final film musical, Dr. Dolittle. Fact 2. Did you know that for the original Murder on the Orient Express, Albert Finney, who played Agatha Christie's detective Hercule Poirot, was actually much younger than the character? Poirot is supposed to be in his late 50s or early 60s, and Finney was 37 when the film was made in 1974. I noted in a previous episode that Finney remains the youngest actor to have played Ebenezer Scrooge, being 33 years old in the 1970 musical, Scrooge. Extensive makeup was applied to him to make him look older, but it came as a unique challenge to the creative team as Finney was also performing in a play at the same time as filming. The challenge was solved by having an ambulance arrive at his home while Finney was asleep. The crew would carefully transport him to the studio and start the work on his makeup while he was still sleeping, trying not to wake him up. Despite critical acclaim and an Oscar nod for his performance, Finney found the work so draining, especially when it came to endless takes of Poirot's final summation of solving the case, that he declined to reprise the character in future movies. That final scene alone ran for almost half an hour and was 8 pages long in the script. Even though Albert Finney played Poirot only once, he gave an outstanding performance in my opinion, and one that set the standard for how the character should be portrayed. Fact 3. Did you know that the TV show Veronica Mars had a proposed 4th season before the show was cancelled? The show, about a sharp-witted teenage private eye, had 3 successful seasons between 2004 and 2007. The TV network it aired on, however, UPN, now known as the CW, was poised on whether to cancel the show or not, despite the fact that it was pulling in audiences. To this extent, series creator Rob Thomas, not to be confused with the lead singer of Matchbox 20, and the show's star, Kristen Bell, made a small teaser video of a proposed 4th season of the show in which Veronica left her hometown of Neptune, California, and jumped several years ahead where she would be starting her new career with the FBI. The CW eventually rejected the pitch and the show ended up being cancelled. Thomas did want to finish the series, however, and 7 years later, thanks to a successful Kickstarter campaign, Veronica Mars the movie was released in 2014. The movie does not show the title character becoming an FBI agent, but rather beginning her new adventure as a lawyer when she gets pulled back to Neptune when her ex-boyfriend is accused of murder. There was even a reference to the proposed 4th season when a character talks to Veronica about hearing rumors that she was now with the FBI, to which she replies, "Maybe in another life." Fact 4. Did you know that a villain character meant to appear in Fantastic Four: First Steps ultimately was not seen at all in the movie? John Malkovich appeared in the trailer for the movie as an unspecified character, and it was assumed he would play a large role. His character was ultimately cut from the film altogether, though he still got paid for his participation. This left fans wondering what character he was going to be playing, and they ultimately correctly guessed that he was playing the Red Ghost, one of the first villains the Fantastic Four fought in the comics. Red Ghost is still briefly mentioned in the movie's opening montage. Mr. Fantastic is seen fighting one of his super apes. The practice of showing actors in scenes that are not in the movie has become commonplace in the movie industry. Who knows though? Maybe Malkovich will get a second chance on a future MCU movie. Fact 5. Did you know that the creative tools that made the original Tomb Raider games were made available to the public in 1999? That year saw the release of Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation, the fourth entry in the series. The game's 3D tool engine, Level Editor, was conceived by core design programmer Gavin Rummery, who joined the company in the mid-90s, fresh out of college. His engineering skills allowed him to build the game's world around a grid system, allowing Lara Croft to survey a room and look for hidden mechanics and secret paths to progress. The PC port of The Last Revelation allowed Rummery's level editing software to be used for home use. Even the British newspaper, The Times, which decades earlier had financed the Egyptian expedition to find King Tutankhamun's tomb, teamed up with Core Design to create a level based on the archaeological discovery. Fact 6. Did you know that one feature of the Nintendo 3DS that was teased at its first reveal was only used once? In March 2010, the 3DS was unveiled at a press event, and late Nintendo president Satoru Iwata explained some of the handheld's capabilities. In addition to obviously playing games in stereoscopic 3D, there were even plans to have 3D movies available to watch. Trailers such as Tangled and Legend of the Guardians were teased as an example. In the end, though, only one full-length movie was released on the console, Tekken Blood Vengeance, which came bundled with the game Tekken 3D Prime Edition. No other 3D movies were ever released for the system, though 3D trailers for later games and other content were shown. Fact 7. Did you know that the famous Tarzan yell from the Disney movie was not actually done by the actor who played Tarzan? Tony Goldwyn provided the voice for Tarzan, and it is believed that he did try to do the yell but wasn't strong enough. The job was instead given to British actor Brian Blessed, the voice of the movie's villain, Clayton. This actually reminds me of the debate of whether Johnny Weissmuller did the Tarzan yell in his films back in the 1930s, a sound which has since become a stock sound effect. Fact 8. Did you know that Nintendo actually has a patent with the cross-shaped directional pad? It was filed in 1982 by legendary designer Gunpei Yokoi, the inventor of the handheld systems, the Game & Watch, and the Game Boy. The first game to ever use the D-pad was the Game & Watch version of Donkey Kong. Every video game controller since has utilized the D-pad, and in the late 90s, the input device was given a Technology Emmy Award for its significant contribution to gaming. Fact 9. Did you know that Super Mario Sunshine, the first mainstream Mario game on the Nintendo GameCube, has a reference to its working codename? The game takes place on an Italian-inspired ocean locale called Isle Delfino, the Italian word for dolphin. Dolphin was indeed the working name for the GameCube. It's customary for other companies to give their consoles some interesting codenames, an example being Project Atlantis as the codename for the Game Boy Advance, and Sega's consoles having to do with planets: Jupiter, Sega Saturn, Mars, 32X, Mercury, Game Gear, and so on. Even the Nintendo 64 was going to be called the Ultra 64 until it was realized there was already a company called Ultra Games. Fact 10. Did you know that Avengers Infinity War was going to end exactly when Thanos activated the Infinity Gauntlet? Thanos, the MCU's main villain at the time, obtained the final Infinity Stone during the movie's climactic battle and effectively activated the gauntlet by snapping his fingers, erasing a large chunk of the universe's population, including half of the Avengers. The thing was, though, the movie was originally going to end on a cliffhanger right on the finger snap. The post-credits scene would have shown the moment of Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye's family, disappearing. Endgame would have also opened with the aftermath of the battle, with half of the Avengers being erased from existence. The Russo brothers, who directed the movie, however, thought it was too anticlimactic and robbed the audience of the shock factor. It was decided instead to flip the scenes around to show the end of the battle at the end of the movie and show Hawkeye's family disappearing in the opening scene of Endgame. The post-credits scene for Infinity War instead showed Nick Fury, prior to disappearing himself, activating his beacon to summon Captain Marvel, setting up her own standalone movie in the process. And here's today's trivia question. I've mentioned several times that the multiplayer mode in GoldenEye was a very last-minute addition to the game to take advantage of the 4-player capabilities in the Nintendo 64. The addition went rather smoothly, but there was one move that the player does in-game that the motion capture never got around to animating for the 3D character models, again, due to time constraints. My question to you is, which animation for the 3D characters in GoldenEye was missing from multiplayer? And there we go for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed the trivia I brought for you today. I'll try to get back to a more consistent upload schedule soon. There's just been a lot of things going on, most of it very positive. But in the meantime, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell to be notified for future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.